Alright, take two. This is a video for high school biology students on classification of living organisms, otherwise known as taxonomy. Now in taxonomy, in high school biology, there's a couple different systems. We have a three-domain system and we have a five-kingdom classification system. I'm going to focus mostly on the five-kingdom classification system since likely that is what you will have to learn about in high school biology. Now, five kingdoms include Plantae, Animalia, Fungi, Protista, and Monera. And I'm going to go over each one of these briefly. We have Animalia, would include the animals, so it's everything from sea sponges to elephants to people. It would also include things like dinosaurs, insects, spiders, fish, things like this. Now, there are no single-celled animals. Single-celled, if something's a single cellular organism, it would fit into a different kingdom. Now, of course, all animals start out as single cells, but in the full-grown adult state, there are no single-celled animals. Now, the second kingdom would be now the second kingdom I would like to mention would be the Plantae. That's the plants. Now this includes everything from the flowers, the grass, to the trees, to all the plants on the planet. Now plants are photosynthetic. That means that they make their own food using the sunlight, and they also use chemicals they get from different places, including carbon dioxide and water, in order to do the process of photosynthesis. And all plants, just like all animals, are multicellular. So if something's not multicellular, like some algae that live in the ocean, they're not actually considered to be plants. Now, the third kingdom, which I guess, why not? Let's do the protists. The protists include everything from things like slime molds to algae and seaweed. Now, seaweed is actually a type of algae, and protists are different from animals and plants because protists can include both single-cellular and multicellular organisms. And one of my favorites is the slime mold, which spends part of its life cycle as a single-cellular organisms that do what they do in their environment. But when the environmental conditions start to become so that they're not favorable for the slime mold survival, they will form into a cluster that moves somewhere else, and the movement actually looks like a slug. And then once they find where they're moving to, they're not staying there. They actually form themselves into something that looks like a tree, and then the wind comes along and blows spores from the from the thing that looks like a tree, and they end up blowing. They'll blow across the field, or they'll blow through the air. It's highly possible they can end up getting caught up in the air and end up finding themselves on another continent. Single cellular organisms are very light, and I wouldn't put it past them for that to happen. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean all slime molds do that. That's just one example of a slime mold that I know of. Now, a fourth kingdom that I'd like to mention is, because hey, there's five of them, is the fungi. Now, the fungi are everything from yeast, which are single-celled organisms that people use to make bread and beer, to mushrooms. So whether they're the mushrooms you eat from the supermarket or the mushrooms you find in the woods, which you shouldn't be eating, and you shouldn't be licking either, unless you want to end up being a druggy vegetable. Now, the fifth kingdom is the Monerans. And the Monerans is basically the bacteria in the Archaea. And what sets this apart is they are all single-cellular. Fungi and protists can be both single-cellular and multicellular, and plants and animals are all just multicellular. Now the eukaryotes, the Monera, which are everything except for the eukaryotes. Um, the Monera are single-celled organisms that do not contain a true nucleus. They have one circular one circular chromosome, and they also a lot of times they'll have they'll have plasmids floating around in their body, which also contain a little bit of DNA. Now, a plasmid is almost like a very, very, very tiny chromosome, and bacteria can actually integrate this into their chromosome, and they can also share plasmids between each other. But I'm not going to go into a lot of that right now. Just a taste of something you'll learn about in college if you decide to go on to get a biotechnology degree or a degree in biology, or even something in medicine. Um, Now, the three-domain system, briefly, is the three domains would be the eukaryotes, which include everything on Earth, pretty much everything on Earth, except for um, the things that we classified as monerans before. The eukaryote means eukaryote. It's everything with a true nucleus. So it's plants, animals, fungi, not bacteria. Plants, animals, fungi, and protists. All of those are eukaryotes. The bacteria and the archaea are prokaryotes, and they're what makes up the other two systems. The other two domains. So you have bacteria, archaea, and eukarya. So all of those are the three domains, but I don't think in high school biology you have to know those or remember them. But it's good to know. It's good to know. It's something you'll learn about. You'll learn about later on. And just really quick, brief way to remember it: eukaryote means you carry, so it means you have a true nucleus. Archaea, it means ancient because in the evolutionary belief system, they think that the Archaea were the most ancient. Archaea are Archaea are it's either generally or often. I'm not sure if because I haven't actually worked with Archaea that much. They tend to be extremophiles. They'll live in conditions like very acidic conditions, and they aren't primitive by any means. I read an article by a scientist who studies Archaea that he said that it's a mistake to think of Archaea as being very primitive because they have a lot of molecular machines inside of them that just natural, something God gave them, that are required for them to be able to survive in these extreme conditions. It's almost like they have a spacesuit or something. Um, you know, human beings are on Earth in pretty much ideal conditions for life, but if you go into more extreme conditions, then it becomes more and more difficult for the chemistry of life to be possible, and you need to have special equipment inside of your biology. It's either living equipment inside of your biology or artificial equipment like a spacesuit in order to survive in those extreme conditions. Um, Now, I'm going to also brief. I'm also going to briefly go over how to the five. Remember the five, all the levels of the five kingdom system. Everything from species, all the way up to kingdom. Um, and you can just, if you have to remember domain also, just remember the domain is right above kingdom. And the way to remember this is you have kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. And of course, kingdom is at the top and species at the bottom. And there's also other things that I've heard of, like superorder, suborder, subspecies, and of course subspecies is something that is definitely relevant on a daily basis if you go into biology. The other ones of course I am very early in my career, but I've never had to work with that so far. But you can remember King Philip came over for good soup. It's something I learned in high school biology, and it's stuck with me ever since. And, well, Thank you for watching my video, and if you have any questions or comments, please post them. Please feel free to like my video and to share it with your friends, either on YouTube or on Facebook. And share it with your teachers also. Have a good day.